Hello everyone. On this video we will be looking at combining exponents. Okay, so the first thing you want to remember is that when you're adding or subtracting variable terms, and if and only if they have the same variable and exponent, then you add and subtract the coefficient also. So for example, if you want to simplify 5x plus 2x. Okay, you just add the coefficients, which is just the number in front of the variable. Okay, so 5x plus 2x, 7x. Okay, or what if you have x plus x plus x? Okay, remember this is the same as saying 1x plus 1x plus 1x, which is 3x. Okay, so what if you have 3x plus 15x squared plus 9x? Okay. Thing is, you can only combine them if the variables and exponents are exactly the same. So these two are the only ones you can combine when you're adding or subtracting. Okay, so 3x plus 9x is 12x plus 15x squared. Okay, so you can't combine these two terms because their exponents aren't the same. Everything has to be the same in order for you to combine them. Okay. Now when you're multiplying, the exponents don't have to be the same. When multiplying variables, add the exponent when the bases are the same. Okay, and just for reference, let's say you have x to the 4th power. The x is your base, and the 4 is your exponent. Okay, so let's say, for example, if we have x squared times x to the 4th. Okay, so if we wanted to break this down, x squared is just x times x times x to the 4th, which is x times x times x times x. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's x to the 6th power. Okay, or we could just do it the easy way, say x squared times x to the 4th, it's just x to the 2 plus 4, which is x to the 6th. Okay, so just adding the exponents when the bases are the same, a lot easier. All right, so let's say we have x to the 15th power times x to the 7th power. And that's going to be x to the 15 plus 7th power, which is x to the 22nd power. Oops, separate that a little bit. Here we go. Alright, so if you're still writing, feel free to pause it. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page. Okay, so let's say we have r to the 3rd power times r to the 5th power times r. Okay, well, thing is, r is just r to the 1st power. So this would be r to the 3rd power times r to the 5th power times r to the 1st power, which is just r to the 3 plus 5 plus 1 power. Okay, which is r to the 9th power. Okay, so what if we have, say, 5y squared times 2y to the 3rd? Okay, so there are no plus or minus signs, so everything here is just multiplied. This is just multiplying the numbers and then multiplying the exponents, or the variables. So 5y squared times 2y to the 3rd is the same as saying 5 times 2 times y squared times y to the 3rd. Okay, so 5 times 2, that's 10, and y squared times y to the 3rd is y to the 2 plus 3. Okay. Or you just get 10y to the 5th power. All right. Okay, so what if we have 7x squared times negative 5xy? Okay, same rules as up here. 7x squared times negative 5xy. You're just going to multiply your numbers. 7 times negative 5 times x squared times x, or you can make that x to the 1st power, times y. Okay. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. X squared times x to the 1st is x to the 2 plus 1. And y is just y. It doesn't combine with anything. Okay. So that's negative 35 x to the 3rd y. Straighten up the papers here. There we go. Okay, so what if we have 10x to the 5th power times 8x to the 10th power times 4y to the 3rd power? Okay, so I want you to press pause and try this one on your own. Alright, so I'm assuming you've paused it and worked it out. So 10x to the 5th times 8x to the 10th times 4y to the 3rd. Remember, we're just going to multiply all of our numbers. 10 times 8 times 4, and then multiply our variables. Times x to the 5th times x to the 10th times y to the 3rd. Okay, so 10 times 8 is 80. 80 times 4 is 320. So we have 320. So you have x to the 5th times x to the 10th is x to the 5 plus 10. And y to the 3rd is just y to the 3rd. So if we simplify that, it's going to be 320 x to the 15th power, y to the 3rd. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page. Oops, bring that paper down. Okay, so if you remember, the distributive property, we have some number times two terms, or it could be a variable, could be anything, times a binomial. What you do is you distribute that a to all of those terms and multiply. So a times b plus c is a times b plus a times c. So you're just multiplying this a to each one of those terms. Okay, so for example, there we go. What if you have 3x times x to the 4th power plus 8? And you want to simplify. Okay, so 3x times x to the 4th power plus 8, we're just going to distribute that 3x. Okay, so that's going to be 3x times x to the 4th plus 3x times 8. Okay, so remember, you're just going to have each term that you're going to combine. Okay, so 3x times x to the 4th, x to the 4th times x to the 1st power is x to the 5th power. So that's 3x to the 5th power. Plus, you have 8 times 3, which is 24, plus 24x. Okay, now you can't combine these two terms because the variable and exponents aren't exactly alike. They have to be exactly alike to add them together. So since they aren't exactly alike, that's our final answer. Okay, so let's say you have to simplify. Say 4x to the 3rd power times x to the 3rd power minus 3x plus 8x to the 6th power. All right, so just going to rewrite it. Okay, remember, you're only going to distribute inside the parentheses. Okay, so this is 4x to the third times x to the third minus 4x to the third times 3x plus 8x to the sixth power. Okay, so if we multiply those two variables, x to the third times x to the third is x to the 3 plus 3. So this would be 4x to the sixth power minus 4 times 3 is 12. X to the third times x is x to the fourth power plus 8x to the sixth power. Okay, so really these two are the only ones you can combine because the variable and exponents are exactly the same when you're adding. Okay, so 4 plus 8 is 12. We have 12x to the sixth power minus 12x to the fourth power. Okay, so what if we want to find the area of a rectangle where one side is x squared and the other side is 3x to the third power plus 4. Okay, so we know the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. Okay, so we have the length times the width, so that means the area is equal to 3x to the third plus 4 times x squared. Okay, we can go ahead and just distribute that x squared. Okay, so it's going to be x squared times 3x to the third plus x squared times 4. Here we go. Okay, so you have 3, and that's the only number there, so we're just going to bring that down. Oops, there we go. X squared times x to the third is x to the fifth power plus 4 times x squared is just 4x squared. And those two variables and exponents are not the same, so you can't add them together. Okay, so that is your final answer. Okay, so hopefully this made sense, and I will see you on the next video.